Hello, some more in regards to the cornucopia, and we'll be looking at, in the more modern sense. But firstly, for instance, this is an older image from cigar boxes, and that's just one example. Whether it's postcards, all these other older imagery from a time pre-Hollywood, pre-radio, pre-television, and sort of pulp fiction, people were much more in tune with these symbols. They were very important. For instance, if you go to a church, the Stations of the Cross, where you have the story of the crucifixion around the outside told in imagery, especially because going back centuries, but literacy rates weren't as high, but people were more in tune with the symbolic language, and so the cornucopia, these even tools of masonry, were better and more understood. Unfortunately, they've become sort of demonized now as we lose this type of language. But so the cornucopia, and there's some really nice connections to the Matrix movie, and the Matrix, the whole series was filmed here in Sydney, and there's some nice connections there to the cornucopia. But for instance, the Matrix, the red pill, the blue pill, this has become a meme. Through Hollywood, we now have this symbolism, these common themes. Our cultural language is now more embedded in Hollywood than it is in the more ancient traditions. But take the red pill, it's the good one. Morpheus. Now, I did a couple other videos, for instance, one on J.J. Abrams and his movies and television series, overloaded with older symbolism. He knows these things. Other set designers just embed into television, movies. They seem to know what's going on, but through the standard education system, we've lost it. But that's it. Morpheus, Hypnos, God of Dreams. This is just one reference to it. But we go to Matrix number 1. Excellent movie, I thought, number 1, 2, and 3. But anyway, the important point is one of the pivotal scenes in the Matrix is focused, and again, it's filmed here in Sydney, and this is the AWA building. Very important building historically here in Sydney, but it's interesting that they focus on this. Well, it is sort of more, is it the word photogenic, more cinematic to have this in the background, but that's nice on its own. However, as with other movies, television, pop culture, those who are making it seem to know something a little bit more than what they let on. Now, it could be, there are some more reasonable explanations, but given, for instance, J.J. Abrams and these other ones, and just once I sort of cottoned onto this whole area, and then you start seeing, it's really, really interesting that whether it's intentional or whether it's sort of in our collective subconscious, I really don't know. But the AWA building, so for a long time this was the tallest building in Sydney, and that's a replica of the Eiffel Tower on there. The Eiffel Tower itself, done some videos on there, that's just overloaded with esoteric information. The AWA building, there you see it now. This is on York Street in Sydney, the view, and it's another, there's more even this feature here. But inside the AWA building, now there's a art gallery there, but on the ground floor we include the Zodiac. Now this is, again, a common feature, even the lightning bolts, Zeus and the lightning bolts. But more than that, in the four corners of that particular, on the ground floor, we have air, water, fire, and earth. Well, that's Zeus. Zeus with the firebolt, with the eagle. Water, Delphinus, the dolphin, and Neptune, so Poseidon, Neptune. Hephaestus, the god of fire, or aka Vulcan, and Gaia or Terra, and what she has the cornucopia. So in that AWA building, the cornucopia is there, as well as the Zodiac and these other symbols which will connect to constellations. In previous episodes touched on that. But as Zeus was nourished by Amalthea, so the connection between Zeus and the cornucopia, very, very strong. But also connects, so on the outside of the AWA building, their emblem is Pegasus, the winged horse. This will connect, again, back to previous episodes. So Capra, the goat here, was placed by Zeus in the heavens in honor of her nourishing Zeus as a child, and also the Aegis. The hide of that goat was turned into the Aegis, which connects to Zeus and Athena and the Medusa's head of Perseus. And that, so for instance, that's the sword given to him by Zeus. And the Medusa theme, well, Pegasus, which is another constellation. So in the movies, it tends to be, you see Perseus flying around on Pegasus. Well, he actually flew around because of winged sandals given to him by Hermes. Only once he killed Medusa did Pegasus spring forth from the severed head. So there's a nice little journey there. But Pegasus on the AWA building. But now if we go to the Royal Botanic Gardens in Sydney, and on the shores there we have the Henry Kendall seat. And what do we have? We have Pegasus themes once more. Now this will nicely connect to the Matrix Part 3, the final scene, because in the final scene the architect and the Oracle have a little discussion, and they have it on the shores. This is, if you live in Sydney, you know where this is. And okay, these buildings have been photoshopped in, so it's a little bit more, but that's an interesting point as well. But this, if you're sitting on the Pegasus chair looking out, this is literally the spot you're looking out at, which is very interesting. And also at the final scene, you have the sun rising. Now, if you were to, well, this again from the Henry Kendall seat, this is pretty much the view you would get if you look to your left. But why is that interesting? Well, this is Sydney, but well, these buildings again have been photoshopped in. So this wall and this part, I know it. You know, this, if you live in Sydney, you know where this is. But these buildings have been photoshopped in, and well, this is a building of special interest. That one, the AMP building. So this is actually, if you're in Sydney and you look, Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. And what do we have? We have the AMP buildings, the older AMP building and the newer one, Australian Mutual Provident Society. So just to highlight them there, AMP, and that's what we have. The AMP building, they've photoshopped that into the final scene of the Matrix from the Henry Kendall seat, which is the Pegasus, and the Cornucopia, the AWA building. All very nice connections there. But what's more, on the old AMP building, down there on the side, we have this relief, this sculpture that's been put in by Tom Bass, no less. Now, wherever this guy is, Tom Bass, very important, but that's something else. I did a video on him. But this is the emblem of the AMP, and what do we have? We have the Cornucopia there. Now, this is a more modern style of that theme, but Australian Mutual Provident Society, established 1849, and it was founded by Thomas Sutcliffe Mort. Now, just now if we go back a little bit, okay, so just there in the gap, you would find Macquarie Place. Well, Lachlan Macquarie, anyway, but that's where the Thomas Sutcliffe Mort statue is, and it's on the spot where the fountain designed by Elizabeth Macquarie is, but again, something else. But Australian Mutual Provident Society, mutual aid societies. Now, this company, the AMP, was so important in establishing Australia. Especially at the time, smaller farmers, smaller people couldn't get loans from the banks. They had to go to these types of mutual aid societies. This was basically a non-profit organisation. Growing up, if you put your money AMP, it was very, very safe. You got very good returns. It was a good company, and it was founded by Masons. I recently posted some uploads on mutual aid societies, which are now demonised, called all sorts of nasty things, whether it's especially in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America. These organisations were the working man's group. They, the big corporations didn't give a flying hoot for them. But the AMP was demutualised in 1998. Now it's just another for-profit financial services corporation. And this is the AMP building in Goulburn in New South Wales. And what do we have? The same. So we have this older, more classical sculpture versus the more modern style by Tom Bass. But again, Cornucopia, and the Cornucopia again, the mother with the child, see there, and the male with, well, there's sort of a hint to Fortuna's wheel, but there we see the globe. as well. Now, a nice little couple references there, but that'll take too long to go into. Australian Mutual, that's the Goldman Building once more. There we see the sculpture there on top, but we also have this here. And what do we have? Cornucopia. Just get a better view of it. Now that's directly will relate to the previous video, because, well, for instance, Antwerp train station, what do we have? Have packs, again, the shield and those double cornucopia. So again, very, very similar. AMP building in Newcastle, that's the building there, and again, the shield, but well, again, the cornucopia is the horn of plenty. And there's Fortuna's wheel, so just a bit of a double reference anyway. Now the AMP, we have very, very strong Freemasonic connections. Now the overwhelming majority of Masons still to this day is not exclusive richies, it's normal people. But again, the importance of a cornucopia in Masonic symbolism, for instance, the steward, but also did a recent video, grain, oil and wine. The oil is held in the cornucopia. Manchester Unity Building in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, and Manchester Unity, that's MUIOOF for Manchester Unity Independent Order of Oddfellows. It's even, well, it's written there, so it's not no doubt about that. And we see the cornucopia in the Oddfellow symbolism. All-seeing eye. This is, if you didn't read Oddfellows, this would, most people would go, "Oh, that's evil Masonic stuff." Well, again, this is a mutual aid society, and all these emblems and symbols, and these symbols were important because we're going back to a period where literacy was not quite as high, and people were more the language was more through symbolism. And that's why these things are still embedded there. But now, just like the AMP, the IOOF, once a good mutual aid, mutual providence society, the IOOF was demutualized in 2002, only a few years after the AMP, again, and taken over by a corporate elite. And now it's just another financial services company, even the emblem, but you still see the hangover of the older, the better period of time, let's say. It's even interesting, what does the IOOF stand for in the advertisement? Well, it stands for Independent Order of Oddfellows, but yeah, it's not very well known. So cornucopia, it's just very interesting how, whether it's synchronicity or whether it's intentional, how in so many Hollywood mainstream media productions, the set designers drop these lovely little hints in there, and it's, again, is it planned, or is it accidental? Is it synchronicity? Well, I will leave that up to you, but it's also part of this ongoing tradition, and that's why I would really advise, to get into your classical education and understand, because you'll start, well, whether it's the Doric, Ionic, Corinthian columns, cornucopia, acanthus, the constellations and the origins for Pegasus, Perseus, Auriga, not just the 12 signs of the zodiac, but the ancient constellations as well. And yeah, so cornucopia, Zeus, architecture, symbolism, and still how it carries on today. So cornucopia, take the red pill. Have a good one.